Hello everybody, welcome back to the Mover Mailbag. I am Mover, C.W. Lemoine, author of the Spectre series and the Alex Shepard series. Sorry, it's been a while. I just got back from getting the Corvette, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that video coming out on Monday. On today's episode, I have a couple of questions, and the first one is actually related to the Corvette, which is, I don't have any specific question, but I've been asked by a few people, why didn't I wait for the C8? So as most of you know, I just went and picked up the 2019 Corvette 01 from the museum. I drove it back last week and it's currently in the shop getting expel and paint protection, all that stuff. So I got a couple good videos on that. But I've had a lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you just wait? Because in July, the 2020 C8 was announced and it's all new mid-engine and all that stuff. And there's a couple reasons why I didn't wait. First of all, I wasn't really sold on the mid-engine idea. It is possible to be both a fan of the car and not necessarily excited about the car. When the car came out, I thought it was great. I think the mid-engine design is pretty cool. I'm glad that they're going with that. I don't understand why people keep saying it's a car for the younger generation. I don't know what age has anything to do with the mid-engine versus front engine or rear engine or whatever position you put the engine in the car. I don't see why that's relevant, but from the front, it's a great looking car. And I think that the performance is awesome, especially 495 horsepower. They're advertising 0 to 60 under 3 seconds, which is faster than the current C7, but not quite as fast, at least according to what they said at their reveal, as the C7 ZR1. And it's a base model car. And the same thing kind of happened when the C7 came out. I had a 2009 ZR1 at the time, and I put them side by side, and I was like, yeah, I'm just not that impressed. Base model cars really don't do much for me. I know it's going to be cool, but there's going to be a lot of growing pains with the car, a lot of teething issues. I actually did have the opportunity to see one in person when we were up in Bowling Green. Doug and I were driving around the day prior to the delivery, and we happened to see one going down the highway. So we chased it down and stalked it in a stalkerish, creepy way. And we found a group that was going to talk to him, so we went up and took a look at the car. He didn't let me inside the car or anything. It actually happened to be the interior engineer. And up close, it's a good-looking car at a lot of angles, but not at other angles. I think the back is too square and Camaro-like. I'm just not a huge fan of how they design the car and just kind of how it looks in person. It's just very underwhelming. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. And then the interior, my biggest issue with the interior is the big ski slope thing on the right side where they've got 40 buttons or 30 buttons, or they got a whole crap ton of buttons going up the side for air conditioning stuff. And they said that's a fighter cockpit design, but it's nothing like any fighter I've ever been in, and I don't know why. We call that pilot vehicle interface and PVI, and that PVI is just not good. It's not good at all. I don't know why you need a barrier between yourself and the passenger, but it just, when you compare it to other supercars and you compare it to other mid-engine cars, it just doesn't look right. And even compared to the C7, just that wall and center display and the tilted thing, the display, not a fan. I think they did a poor job with that ski slope thing. So the rest of the interior looks good. Not a fan of the square steering wheel, but it's going to be a good car. And a lot of people say, well, it's an automatic only, and the engineer did confirm that they're never making another manual transmission Corvette, at least as of right now, so that the C7 is the last manual transmission car. I have nothing against automatic transmissions or dual clutch transmissions because I had the Camaro, and that 10-speed auto that I had was amazing. It was the fastest shifting automatic car I've ever had. It was awesome on the track. It was a lot of fun. You could just stab the gas and go, and on the track you were fast, and it was one less thing to think about. And I think in the future, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, I can't believe we ever had to manually shift our own cars. But with that said, there's something about rowing through your own gears. There's just something more fun about it. There's something more connected about it for a sports car, and especially now with the C7 and rev matching and all that stuff. I wanted a car that was the last of the breed, because I believe as we go forward with emission standards and CAF standards and all the California crap that's coming out, I think we're going to start to see more hybrid electric vehicles. We're going to see electric sports cars. The end of the gas-powered, high, big block, high horsepower V8s. Well, it'll go away because smaller displacement engines, higher revving engines, etc. So I wanted to kind of throw my stake in the ground and go, this is where I am stopping. This is a car I want to keep for a while, and hopefully I will keep it. So the 2019 ZR1 was that car. It's 755 horsepower. I got the RVK option, which is the performance intake, so that's 772 now. And it's going to be the last manual transmission. There were, I think, 600-700 manual transmission ZR1s ever built. There were less than 3,000 ZR1s built in the first place. It's a one-year model run, and it's just the car that I was like, I want to build it the way I want it, and this is where I stop. This is, at least for now. Now I might buy another car eventually to go next to it, but as far as what car I want to buy to keep, this was it. So, and it's not really a hit on the C8. I think the C8's a great car. I would love to have one eventually. I think, I did the configurator and built a ceramic matrix gray version, and I wouldn't mind having one. But when I compared what was available right now and what I wanted to do with the museum delivery versus the C8, which won't be available till March, or the first quarter, into the first quarter next year, I think the C7 ZR1 was it. And with that said, you're comparing a base model car, which the C8 is, to the halo car, the supercar, the C7 ZR1. I mean, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years before you get the ZR1 level performance out of the C8. It will be a while before you get that. It's just like comparing the 09 ZR1 or the 13 ZR1 to the 14 C7. I mean, next to each other, it's not even a comparison. The base models just don't do it compared to the Z06 ZR1 type. So that's why I did it. I love the ZR1. I can't wait to share that with you. Maybe eventually I will get a C8, maybe next to it, side by side or whatever. I think GM did a great thing with the C8. They hit it out of the park, and it's okay, I think, to have criticisms of the car and not like the rear end, not like the square trunk thing that they've got going on, and have some criticisms of the interior, and still think overall it's a good car. It's still got its upside, and I still think they're doing a great job with it. It's just when people ask me, hey, which one would you rather, even not knowing at the time what the C8 was going to be, I wanted the last front engine, rear wheel drive, manual transmission, 750 horsepower car. So that's what I went with. But it's personal preference. Some people will think the C8 looks better, and that's fine. So anyway, I hope that answers that question. Let's get back to the rest of the mover mailbag. This comes from Slade Persona. Hey man, love your videos. Gave up on my dream of being a fighter pilot while still in high school, but after seeing pretty much all of your videos, I'm back at it. Thanks for the much needed inspiration. Keep up the awesome content. Yeah, make them tell you now. Don't ever give up just because of bad information out there. Go through the process. It doesn't cost you anything. Just go through the process and let someone in a position of authority and someone who can actually make the decision, tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. So I'm glad that you're actually continuing through it. This comes from Michael. Hey Mover, love your videos. Bit of a fun question. I'm an IT engineer by day and armchair fighter pilot by night, DCS World, and I love to nerd out with all the Brevity fun terminology. NATO Brevity codes are really neat in that they convey bits of complex information with a few code words. What are some of your favorite Brevity codes words that you've either used or know of? What would be some fun and obscure ones that us armchair pilots might not hear or use commonly? We all love our Fox 3 and Pickle, etc. Thanks, and keep the content coming, Mike. It's hard to say. Judy is one of them. Dark Star Judy, which basically means stop talking, I've got this. Which you can tell your wingman to Judy if he's talking too much, which he really shouldn't be talking too much. 2, Joker Bingo, lead you're on fire, I'll take the fat one. That's all you should really hear out of your wingman. I'm just kidding, but no, really. Yeah, 3-1 has its own brevity terms. In fact, I think in one of the latest revisions, at least on the Navy side, Leroy Jenkins was actually added, and that's a call for everybody to turn their forces hot, just like the Leroy Jenkins video of YouTube fame. Or was this before YouTube? I don't know, but the Leroy Jenkins thing was pretty funny, but it's situational dependent. Miller time is cool, so you're coming off target. Miller time means you're going back. You've mission complete. You're off target and heading back. A lot of stuff is just normal words that we've converted to use in the fighter context. But get into 3-1, you'll find it's unclassified. You'll find some really cool stuff in there. This comes from Campo Daniel G. Hey, do fighter jets have autopilot? If not, how do fighter pilots deal with long flights? Thank you. Yeah, sort of. Kind of. Some of them, they're varying degrees of autopilot. The most basic one would be attitude hold, where it basically you've got a bank angle that'll hold and a pitch angle that'll hold, and that's it. There is heading select, which the F-16 has varying degrees of that. Like the Block 30 would have heading select, so you could spin the heading bug and it would turn to follow the heading, and it would have altitude hold. But it also had attitude hold, so it would hold the desired bank angle and altitude and all that. So there were two different switches. More advanced autopilots can fly routes, so they can go through your steer points and go steer point to steer point to steer point as long as it's selected in auto. The F-16, Block 40s and 50s have that, as well as the F-18. The F-18 could fly, a route. It could fly your heading select. It had altitude hold, it had attitude hold, it had auto throttle, so it would hold a true airspeed, which was pretty cool. The F-16 doesn't have any of that, or it doesn't have the auto throttles, but yeah, you do have some level of autopilot. Now, if you fly the T-38, your autopilot is trim, and that just means you have to trim the aircraft to hands-off neutral flight. There's no autopilot, so it gets kind of crappy, but luckily the airplane only flies about an hour, hour and a half tops. But at least most fighters have some level of automation to help you out. None that I know of will couple to any approaches like you will in civilian, so you're still hand flying civilian, except for the Hornet, which will couple to the boat stuff. But that's kind of a different discussion. As far as civilian goes, there's nothing that'll, like you can't go fly a Cat 1 ILS to minimums on autopilot. It just won't work. But you have a HUD, so it's really easy in the F-16. This was a comment, I remember who asked it and said, hey, are you still an airline pilot, and why don't you make airline pilot videos? And the answer to that is that it's not allowed. Cameras aren't allowed in the cockpits on the flight decks for 121 operation. It would require the FAA's approval. It would require the company's approval. The company doesn't allow cameras to film certain things that we do, and it's just not worth it. I don't really want to mix the two. I do have a video in the future. I saw an article about 25 or 24 things that airline pilots don't want you to know that I really want to address because all of it was wrong. But it's just, I don't know. To me, my passion is flying fighters, cars, guns, books, all that stuff. And the airline stuff is not really a passion of mine. And the one time I even made an airline video, I got skewered. I was C.W. Latoul on airline pilot forums because this community doesn't really care for airline pilot YouTubers. So it's really just not worth it. But maybe eventually, maybe I'll find some other stuff. I'm sure you guys don't care about layovers and flying the 515 from Dallas to Reno or something like that. I mean, it's just kind of boring. So, but if you do have questions, I'll answer them, and if I think of some good airline-related videos, I will address them. So, if you want to email me, cwlemoine, cwlemoine.com. If you want to find me on Facebook, CW Lemoine, Instagram, CW Lemoine, Twitter, CW Lemoine, and if you want to mail me something, P.O. Box 8594, Manaville, Louisiana 70470. If I didn't mention it, this is a Folds of Honor Fight for Honor 2019 shirt. You can pick one up at the Teespring store. 100% of the proceeds from this shirt will go to Folds of Honor. And tournament, the tournament registration is still open for at least 2 more weeks. So please sign up. It's for a good cause. Even if you don't think you're going to win, just sign up anyway. Go have some fun, fight, lose with honor, and know that you're supporting a worthy cause. And if we get enough enough applicants, maybe in the future we'll do more of these and kind of change it up. So please sign up for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you next time.